Welcome back. This is the Upper Tier Podcast, the football and pro wrestling podcast we bring you on every day. If you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button and drop a like on the video, we would really appreciate it. Thought I'd jump on and do a match reaction. Didn't want to keep for a couple of days and stuff like that. I wanted to really get into this and get people's thoughts if you're in the chat and stuff like that, especially if you're a Red. If you're a Liverpool fan, I'd like to get your thoughts on today, because I think today, I think as a group, I think as a club, I think as an entity, I think we've reached a new low. I think it's tough to watch at the moment. I said it before the game that I was very concerned about the lineup. I was very concerned about how we were getting set up going into this game. And I know a lot of people, they came on and they were talking about how like it was us versus 19th and all this kind of stuff. But we forget that like this Forest team, who was being stabilised under Sean Dyche, got a draw against Crystal Palace, who have absolutely been smashing us up this season. And I think it's really, really concerning at the moment, especially for that man in the picture there, because I think there's a turn on now, there's a wave. And we're going to take a look, first of all, at the lineup. We can talk about the substitutions. We can talk about the game. We can talk about a lot of things. We can talk about Virgil van Dijk, his comments after the game. We can go through Arne Slot's comments after here beside me as well. But the reality is, the graphic there to the right of me or to the left, depending on what way you're looking, if it's mirrored, tells a sad, sorry tale, which for me, I'm quite a positive football fan. I'm a very positive Liverpool fan. I tend to always try and lean towards the good. I always tend to try and find positivity in negativity as well. I always try to live by that mantra. We call the show the Shankly Sessions after that great man. And I try and live by that whole moniker from him that, if you don't support us when we win, if you can't support us when we lose, kind of thing and all, And I just felt today was, I felt for the fans. I felt for, so many fans who probably traveled from the four corners of this world we live on and paid probably huge money to have the privilege of witnessing Liverpool playing at Anfield, and then to just have to witness that. And look, we listened to Virgil van Dijk after the game talking about, about fixing up and all this kind of stuff and all. And the reality is, we've been hearing that since the first games. The reality is here, there's nothing fixing up. The reality is, Konate was as shite today as he was in the first few games. And I'm not calling out just specific players here, because we are going to talk about the lineup. The reality is, we had a whole bunch of players up front who were just swinging legs at balls and weren't trying to be clinical and find a position in the goal to score. They were happy to hop balls off players. And I don't want to disrespect Forest in any way. It's a big win for Forest. They really needed it in the position they were in. And to a man, they were absolutely phenomenal. But we knew this beforehand. We knew how well drilled they would be. We know the likes of Murillo, Milinkovic and Elliot Anderson and players like that and all, and how they'll run through brick walls for their manager, and, how they'll defend to the death and all that kind of stuff. So we know this, which means we had to come with a different tactic, and we didn't. And if you look at how the game played out, there was a lot of repeatability in the patterns. You're either going down the left wing or you're going down the right wing, or it's balls out to Salah, balls out to Cody Gakpo, switch back in, turn back in. And if you look at heat maps for players over the last 10 games, bar, I'd say Real Madrid and Aston Villa, and probably the Atletico second half and the Frankfurt game, it tells a very sad story of how we're playing at the moment and how poor we are. And it kind of annoys me as well. It annoys me that, like, let's talk about the lineup, okay? Alisson going back in, no problem. We love Alisson, world class. He's our guy, right? You got Virgil and Konate there. Konate has been so poor most of this season. And in that time, 9 times out of 10, we've had Joe Gomez there on the bench, who doesn't get a look in. Konate, who doesn't get sat down. And I understand if you're trying to play a player back into form, but this player's, This player is shaking his bum for Real Madrid. This player is talking about he's hanging over a new contract. I'm looking at the way this player is playing at the moment, and I don't know how him or his agent have the absolute bollocks to sit across the table from Liverpool representatives looking for 290 grand a week or whatever it is. I don't know what Real Madrid are thinking or what they're looking at to think that maybe he's the solution for them. I'm not too sure, but it's really, really concerning for me. Then I look at the two fullbacks, the right and left back. I look at Milas Kerkez. I look at Robbo the other night, who captained Scotland and put them through to a World Cup. And yes, he was very emotional about Diogo Jota. And yes, there's that underlining grief situation that's there as well. It's undeniable. I'm not a grief counsellor. I'm not a grief expert. I have lost close people, including my parents. I know how tough it is to lose someone really, really close and the effect it can have on you. And everyone deals with grief in different ways. Some people take grief and they use it as a motivational tool to kick on and honour someone's memory. Some people just find the weight of it too much. And you'll always get a blend and a mix in any group. And it's understandable. And we could say it in Robbo the other night. He was suffering. But he got his country to the World Cup final, so he would have been buzzing. On the other hand, we play Milos Kerkez in there. This is a guy who was sitting on the pitch last Sunday, who just got knocked out of the World Cup and had the World Cup trying to get a qualifier. Was sitting on the pitch and absolutely distraught after that unbelievable result from the Republic of Ireland. We see a boy like Dominic Szoboszlai, who captained Hungary there last Sunday, who did absolutely everything and covered every blade of grass on that pitch and did everything he could to get Hungary to a playoff, and failed and was in tears. And you've seen his interviews after it and he couldn't handle it. He was very upset and stuff like that. And then he comes home to Liverpool and he starts training, and then he finds himself on the Saturday and he's thrown out of his natural position and he's thrown into a right back position. Now, he's put in a right back position at a time where we have two potential right backs sitting on the bench. And history would suggest, and we've known this through the Klopp era as well, when you start putting midfielders in defence, the recipe goes out the window. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen it with Henderson. We've seen Nino. We've seen it at times with Taro Endo going in. We've seen it with Gravenberch going in. It's not the thing to be doing. And if you have a squad and you have a bench, this is when you're supposed to use it. When you're stretched and when you have players out injured, you should have players there to fill in. And we do. But obviously the gaffer doesn't trust them. And that's a real problem for me as well. Because quite frankly today, and looking at it, Konate should have been sat down games ago. And Joe Gomez should be in there parting and Virgil van Dijk. Now maybe there's niggles and maybe there's injuries and that doesn't let it happen. And let's see what happens. On the flip side, Dominic Szoboszlai should never be taken out of that midfield area. He is the drive. He is the energy. He is the engine in that midfield at times. He is the man who must tick this season. And putting him in right back just shackles everything that's good about Liverpool. But we could have put Calvin Ramsey in there, and we didn't. So it's really, really, really frustrating. Then you look at the front line. Okay, because the midfield generally picks itself at this stage. Unless you're debating between Dom and Jones, but it generally picks itself. And I'm listening to Liverpool fans this week talking about, Harvey Elliott hasn't kicked the ball at Aston Villa and why is he there and all this kind of thing. Come on now. Where are we at here, Where are we at? So then you look at Alexander Isak going in there. He goes in and starts. Ekitike is sat down. Mo Salah starts. Chiesa is sat down. And it's just bewildering. Like when do we start? I'm a huge Mo Salah fan. And I was very happy that we signed Ekitike as well. But at what point do we take players out who are void? Then I listen to the gaffers. I listened to the gaffer's comments then after the match. And that makes me really, really concerned because I'm looking at the gaffer talking about what he's doing. and he just looks like he's watching a different game to the rest of us. He's definitely watching a different game to the rest of us, because he says he can see signs of it coming back. I can't see it. And I have to say, we were going to start here at about 5, 6, right up the next 11 games, you could argue. You know, I'm not saying they're easy games, because I don't think there's any easy games for Liverpool. But I think they were easier potential games than what we have faced. But then you look at Nottingham Forest and how they performed against Crystal Palace, and then you look at how we performed against Crystal Palace, and no game is a given. I wouldn't be surprised in a couple of weeks if we cough up 3 points to Leeds. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And I just think it's really, really frustrating when you look at it and stuff like that and all. And yeah, did we kind of create chances? Yeah, but like, you look at the way we're playing at the moment, we're really laboured in the way we move the ball. It's not crisp, you know, it doesn't feel like there's a purpose to it. You know, you're taking shots where there's so marginal the chance, because it's being blocked out and stuff like that, and you're hoping that a ball comes off a player's arse and hits the back of the net, and you get away with it, kind of thing, and stuff like that. And then we go down the other end, and Kanate coughs up a corner. Could have easily just played the ball out for a throw-in. Takes a heavy touch and the ball goes out for a corner. And then they ultimately score off that corner, because whatever it is about us, we have absolutely forgotten what it's like to mark off corners. We don't mark players. We don't do zonal marking. I don't know what the hell we're doing, but what we don't do is pick up players, and they tend to score against us. And that's what happens. So today I had huge reservations about the lineup today, to the point where I'm now wondering, is this something that can be turned around? Now, we've PSV on Wednesday in the Champions League, and I'm just wondering, is this something that can be turned around? You know, it's going to be very, very difficult to turn around. There are so many problems there at the moment. There's a mentality issue. You know, I mean, the gaffer was asked after the match today. He doesn't think there's a confidence issue. Like, what is he watching? And I know he has to come out and he has to protect players and he has to, you know, give hope. But like, look at that run of games there and look at what has happened. And that doesn't even begin to tell the tale, because Nottingham Forest today could have bet us 5 or 6-0. Let's be honest here. You know, you look at that Man City game. Okay, if Virgil's goal, and we could talk about the first goal today. Was there a huge difference in that and the one last week against Man City or whatever it was? And like, why did that one count and why did this one count and that one didn't? But we're clutching at stuff constantly all the time to make us feel a little bit better about the disappointment that this season is. And when you look at the window we had in the summer, we were all very excited. This was the window that we wanted. This is the window we've been crying out for FSG, to go on and build success and create a dynasty and give the manager what he needs and all that kind of stuff. And in our own little, on reflection now, probably stupidity, we all bought in on it, and we said, oh, this is really exciting and this is fantastic, and you know, it's going to be really, really positive and we'll be really, really strong. And you know, and we were wrong. We didn't really understand the amount of time it would take to bed players in. We didn't know, you know, players who didn't have a pre-season. You know, we're still talking about getting Alexander Isak fit, and this whole thing of getting players fit because they didn't have a pre-season fucking boils my blood. It absolutely boils my blood. We're 4 months, 4.5 months, or whatever it is, 4 months into the season, we're talking about getting players fucking. Like, it's just jarring at this stage, the way we wrap these people up in cotton wool, you know, and we use these things as excuses at times. Like, we're coming towards the end of November now, and we're talking about getting Alexander Isak fit because he didn't have a pre-season. Like, it's I mean, the same bullshit last year with Chiesa as well. It's so jarring, you know what I mean? But I think the problem with the manager at the moment as well is, I think he's conscious of making the big decisions. I don't know whether he's capable of doing it or not. And a lot of people will come on here and they will say, oh yeah, but when he dropped Salah, we were crap. When he plays Salah, we were crap. When you drop this player were crap, when this player didn't play, wasn't playing, we were crap, when Ekatika crap, and the blend goes around and around and around. But at some stage, you have players on merit. And today, fundamentally, if you see what we're doing, that crispness, that sharpness, that extra 10-15% that you get at the elite end of the Premier League. That difference between winning and losing. We've seen it against City in the way they moved the ball. We moved the ball so laboured, so obvious. We tread passes through positions where we've no right treading passes through positions. We play such a level of hospital balls to players, and it's just jarring, what I'm just, and then, we cut to the byline, we cut it back, and it's the same thing again and again and again. And when it's not working, we don't have anything else. I think it was the 73rd minute, was it, or something, when Szoboszlai let that shot fly, that Cell saved. You know what I mean? 73rd minute. You know what I mean? We weren't getting any joy in close. We were getting blocked out by Nottingham Forest, who were defending like absolute warriors. So we should have tried something different. We should have tried a way of bringing them out a bit, opening them up a bit, stretching it out a bit. And it was just the same repetitive pattern over and over and over again. I don't know how many block shots we had in the end. And it was kind of felt like, you got a shot away and you had a block shot, so it was okay. And I'm there thinking, these are players who are supposed to be at the elite level, competing for the elite trophies. And you're happy to stroll off on a block shot. You're happy to swing your leg at it when you know the shot isn't on. Many times today did we take shots that were block shots when all we had to do was square a ball to a player. Again, you look at Alexander Isak, no influence on the game whatsoever again today. None. And I mean, you can put that down to fitness. You can put it down to not having a pre-season. You can make up all the excuses you want. A big change, going to a much bigger club with a higher expectation. You can go on and on and on and on and create a litany of excuses for every player in every position. But the reality is that this team is not playing. This team is not playing the way it should play. This team is not playing like that team that I watched play against Aston Villa, like that team that I watched play against Real Madrid. And the guy on the screen there has to figure out why that is the case. Why is it that this team can go out and absolutely upend Real Madrid, and then it can rock up to the Etihad and get played off the park by Man City? I just don't, and this is the problem with this season. This season is going to have some peaks and it's going to have a lot more troughs, and it's going to be very, very down and not much up. And it's going to be a real struggle. And I fear for that man's job now. And I've never called for a manager's job ever in my life. I've actually never called either for a player to be let go or to be sacked either or anything like that, because I'm not that kind of guy. I'm a much older Liverpool fan. So I've lived through great times for Liverpool. I've lived through tough times. I've lived through amazing moments. I've lived through very poor and bad tragedies. So I've seen an awful lot. I'm following Liverpool now since 1978. So I've seen Paisley, I've seen Fagan, I've seen Kenny, I've seen Souness. I've lived through all them. I've waited 30 years in the Premier League to win a Premier League trophy, to find then that I couldn't even celebrate it because of the pandemic. I've gone through quite a bit with this team, But this team needs to offer up so much more. This team needs to fix up so quick, because ultimately these players and the way we're playing at the moment, and I don't know if there's something going on internally. I don't know if something has happened with the player group and the management group. I don't know how involved this man was when all these players were getting signed. I don't know if the fact that we didn't get Mark Gady over the line was that last piece of the puzzle that we needed. I don't know what's happened with Florian Wirtz, that for 2 years in the Bundesliga, even Bundesliga Player of the Year, absolutely outstanding. and comes to the Premier League and looks like he's never kicked the ball. I just don't know. I don't know how, Jeremy Frimpong just picks up an injury after an injury. Are we unlucky? What is it? I don't know. I don't know what's missing on that left side of the pitch. That Milos Kerkez now looks like a pale shadow of the Milos Kerkez that was at Bournemouth. I don't know. I don't know what the answers are. Did we kind of, in a way, disrespect or devalue the efforts of Trent, the efforts of Luis Diaz? Did we look at those things and maybe we got so overwhelmed and excited about the signings that were being made? Did we disregard the effect of losing those players? And obviously the tragedy of losing Diogo Jota. And you've seen it even yesterday. We did it on the preview. Big respect to Sean Dyche and the Forest players and all, paying respects to Diogo Jota and stuff like that, as they should and stuff like that. But I looked at this season starting and I had huge expectations, as I always do for Liverpool. It never changes for me. With me, I always expect Liverpool to be competing for the big trophies and to be there or thereabouts. I don't let my team off the hook, no matter what. And I thought this season of all seasons, I thought we might be able to grab the tragedy of Diogo Jota. And I thought we might be able to put a fire in the bellies of these players to go out there and put in an unbelievable season to represent his memory and stuff like that. And it's a real difficult one as well, because, he was such a big part of everything that went on there. And again, I'm not a grief counselor either. It's very, very difficult. But at some stage you have to walk onto a pitch. You may lose a parent, you may lose a brother, you may lose a sister, you may lose a grandparent, you may lose a close friend. But at some stage, you have to find a way to find that inner strength, to stand up and dust yourself down and go back about your business, go back about your job. It's a weird kind of situation. It's the unknown because, you can't put a calc on it. You can't value it. You can't break it down. Everyone's different because it's the human element of things and stuff. And maybe it's like what Darren said. Maybe this season is really going to be a transition season. And maybe we're going to need to figure out these players are going to need more time. And maybe going into next season, maybe the weight of that tragedy won't be so heavy at that stage. Of course, the memory will never go away. And of course, the players' memory will never go away and stuff like that. But we look a pale shadow of the team that we are. And if you look at the players that's on that pitch today, you know what I mean? And no disrespect to Nottingham Forest either and Sean Dyche and how well they did and stuff like that, no. But that team should not be coming to Anfield. And it did it last year as well. And now we're sitting on the back, if you look at the graphic there, back-to-back 3-0 losses. Man City, Nottingham Forest. And if you look at a lot of those results there, a lot of those scorelines there are flattering because a lot of those scorelines could read a lot worse. And it really is a sad indictment. Those scorelines there actually flatter us. As you look at that Palace game, you look at City, you look at Forest today. Who's to say Forest today wouldn't score 5 or 6? Let's take some comments. Tough one. Start with Acers. Players must be down on tools. Maybe. I don't know. I'd like to think that they're more professional than that. Unless something has happened with Slot. Unless something has happened. I do not know because we're not in our area. Big up, Baz. Even, bro, what's a crack? I'd say you're fuming. I am. I'm absolutely fuming. And it's not like that we lost today. And I say this all the time on the podcast. It's the way in which you lose. That you go out there and you fight for every ball and you play your heart out and you stand up strong and you man up and you do the best for your team. And if you get beaten, you get beaten by a better team. Frustrating. Acers. Konate needs to be told that you won't be playing anymore this season. It's not that easy, Acers. It's not that easy to do that. But the way you do that is you bench him and you play Joe Gomez. Big up, Bren. How are you? Check out Bren's show earlier, folks, live, the review of SmackDown with Emma. Phenomenal show. Two of them are doing a great job. And check out all the other content as well. Some great shows going out there at the moment. We've got some great top 5 shows going out from Keith. Dave's doing his AEW reviews now, and I think there's a Full Gear one coming to us as well. Full Gear's on tonight, I think it is, or tomorrow night. So that should be pretty good as well. Sean Owls, of course, continuing with his NXT reviews and stuff like that, and we cover Raw and all the pay-per-views and all on the Tuesday or Wednesday show. Tuesday this week again, folks, because Wednesday's Liverpool versus PSV. But make sure you're giving the shows the full support. And, of course, Marky, my man, who's in the chat there as well, of course, does the Monday show with me and stuff like that. Let you down, you like, yeah, absolutely. Mark, I tell you, mad. Bring back Roy Hodgson. Jesus, bring back Roy. And see, that's the issue. The issue is, like, we got a statement kind of out of the club tonight saying that Slot has the support and stuff like that, but things really need to improve, and they really do need to improve. It's really, really poor. I put it up there as probably, in context, probably the worst. Probably one of the worst title defences. And the reason I put it up there, and I know there's been bad ones. I know Leicester won the league and then the next season they got relegated or whatever it is and stuff like that and all. But context is key here. Liverpool won the league last season. Then they went out and they spent nearly £500 million. So context is key. Leicester didn't go out and spend £500 million on players the following year. You know what I mean? So I think when you put stuff in reality, it's Liverpool Football Club. There's an expectation there. God knows how long it's been since. I don't think have we even ever retained the title. I'm not too sure. But yeah, it's certainly definitely not in the Premier League area, that's for sure. Anyway, but it's just one of those things. It's so frustrating. We are now the laughing stock of the league. We're now on the second page of the table. I do slag teams and all about being on the second page table. You Man United guys are in here. We have a little bit of banter about you guys having the page down to see us and stuff like that. We are now that team. We are now that team that's fighting for a top half of the table place. We are now a team that is very, very quickly drifting out of a top 5 race. This team cannot be a Europa League team. This team cannot be a Europa Conference team. This team has to be a Champions League team, or we're going to be in serious, serious trouble. And what I seen today couldn't be further away from it. I see sometimes a lot of endeavour and very little output. I see very obvious play that wouldn't need a whole lot of coaching to go up against, to be honest. Big up, bro. How are you? Hope you're good. Rough day at the office today. Rough day at the office. Bill Shankly was the last Liverpool manager to lose back-to-back home games. Yeah, it's not a. Well, we didn't lose. We didn't lose back-to-back home games because the last game was City away, and we beat Aston Villa at home. But it could happen. It could happen. We're in this mode at the moment now of creating all the wrong records. Last season, between the season that we had and Mo Salah and everything, we were breaking records week in, week out. Now we're creating new records and not the records that we want to talk about. So it's rough. Yeah. It does seem to be flying apart from the same, falling apart. Yeah, absolutely. It's poor. It's poor, you know. And you listen to Virgil van Dijk, it's rinse and repeat. Week in, week out, it's rinse and repeat. And all this talk about, you know, the people who support us and stayed with us when we won the title and stuff like that. I get that. And you don't want to be that drop-in fan either and stuff like that and all, you know. But we've now lost 6 out of 7. There's the graphic. In that graphic there. And a lot more. At what point, where does this have to get to before change is needed? How far do we have to sink before we realise for one reason or another this is not working? And now we're hearing of Verts potentially out for a month. Conor Bradley out for about 6-7 weeks. It's really, really poor at the moment. You know? It's really, really poor. And there's a lot of players on that pitch walking around feeling real sorry for when a team scores a goal against us. And they need to fix up real quick. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. Sure, it's obvious to everyone. Marky's in. Will Arna be there in January because some tricky games coming up in December mixed with Champions League games? I don't know. I really don't know. I would hope that he would turn it around. But I think this was the first game back in a pivotal run of games where we couldn't afford to lose any games, especially our home games. I think next week we're away to West Ham. Does any Liverpool fan on the planet have any confidence in us going to West Ham against Nuno and coming away with anything? And if we do, how can we read into it? Because the only corners we're turning at the moment are the ones on roundabouts. Because it's just going around in circles at the moment. And it's so poor. And I don't know where we go from here. I don't know on Monday when Arne Slot rocks into work what he says to these players, what he said after the game. You know, he seemed to think in the first half that the players went out and did what he wanted them to do. I find that comment bewildering. I really do. And then after giving them fresh instructions in the dressing room, you come out and within 39 seconds, you've coughed up a second. Like, are they just not listening to the man? Do they just not care enough? You know what I mean? Is it just, are we just not on it? Are we checked out? Are we trying to just roll through this season and get rid of it kind of thing? What are we doing here? You know, what are we doing here? I see these players on social media during the international break and they're posting up pictures with their kids and they're smiling and they're happy and all. And then you see them walking out that tunnel at Anfield and they're the biggest fucking miserable bunch of fuckers I've ever seen. There's no smiles. These huddles are an absolute fucking waste of time. You get the finger pointing again. You get the lack of responsibility. You know what I mean? You get the lack of an understanding of what it means to represent Liverpool Football Club and that badge that's on your chest. The badge that's on your chest is way bigger than your name and your number on the back. And I say that all the time. And I don't know whether Arne Slot has the cojones to make big decisions. Because see that team we've seen today, that's not the team we should see for the next number of weeks. You know, when you don't perform, there has to be a jeopardy. There has to be something there. The same as if you don't perform in your job, the same as you don't perform in your career. You don't just get a pass in life. You can't just turn around and go, oh, I was that guy 4 years ago. I was that guy 3 years ago. I was that guy last season. That doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is this season. What we did last season, parked in the trophy cabinet, done. This is this season. And right now at the moment, we are behind United. We are behind Sunderland. We are behind Crystal Palace. We are behind. I'm going to take a look at this because it's absolutely jarring. Here's the table. Forget about Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City. Expect that. We are behind Crystal Palace, Brighton, Sunderland, Bournemouth, Tottenham, Aston Villa, Manchester United, and we're Liverpool on the second page of the table. This is a Man United team. It's probably been one of the worst Man United teams, not only in the history of the club, but probably in the last 40 years. And we are now behind them on the table. They will probably beat Everton on Monday night, and then they will be 3 points ahead of us in the table. This is the team that has been spoken about as being the worst Man United team in 40, 50 years. Let that sink in. A draw with West Ham is the best we can hope for. I don't think so. I don't think it'll be... I fully expect West Ham to do a number on us down there. I would be shocked. We will have a preview for it, don't worry. Klopp wouldn't let them touch the Anfield sign coming out of the tunnel until they sorted the shit out. Yeah, until they... I think it was until they won something, wasn't it? It was until they won something. But it's just now the situation we find ourselves in, and it's so annoying. And I think a lot of it lands with the players as well, but a lot of it lands with Slot as well, because I don't think he is setting up these players to get the absolute maximum and best out of them. And I think it's a real problem. I think there's players out there at the moment that aren't playing anywhere near the level that they can play. And I think it's out of frustration. I think they're frustrated with the way things are going. I think there's a reliance that we should get a bit of luck. You see a lot of those shots today that are blocked, and you've players praying that they get a deflection off someone's backside and goes into the back of the net or something. Instead of being more clinical in those moments and making the right decision, that anxiety kicks in and you feel that you have to be the guy. You see it even then. Then we seen it last year when things aren't going our way. We down tools on the plan. We come up with a different plan, and we suddenly start taking shots from 30 yards and 25 yards and stuff like that. And that's not what we do. It's not what we do. When we're resorted to that and I see that evolving on the pitch, then I know we're goose. Then I know we're done. In terms of the Premier League, this season for us is over. It's done. There is no way back from this. This team is not going to be capable of going on a run. This team is going to need a season to change up. And if you think about what we've done in the market with Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah signing those 2-year contracts, we are throwing away another season of their career. They're going to be another year older next season. And then what happens? Mad. And then there's talk of bringing in Semenyo in January for 65 million. There's talk of Mark Gahey. We're sitting here, can't even figure out what to do with the players we signed already and how it all fits in and how it sits together. And then we want to throw more on top of that. More. So concerning. So concerning. The money we've spent. And my biggest fear is we look back on this period in Liverpool with the amount of money that we spent on the players that we signed. You know, I often look back at us when we sold Torres and we bought Andy Carroll. And I go, Jesus Christ, like, you know what I mean? It's just insane. And now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, the amount of money we spent on these players, you know, and it's just now, and it may or may not come good. It may need to change again, and I don't know. And FSG must be looking at this and they must be bewildered. The one time that they throw the bag at the club, the one time that they actually go and blow the door of the vault and open up the coffers to Edwards and Hughes and Slot. You know, Klopp must be looking at this going, fuck me. You know, and he spent a few quid. It's not like we didn't spend, but at this level, for this output, for that graphic on that screen there right now. And I know spending money doesn't guarantee anything. Coaching has to come into it and stuff like that. It's been an unmitigated disaster. I can't say any more about it. Because I rock up here all the time. You know, I don't avoid it. I'm on the Monday shows. I'm on the Thursday shows. I'm always quite positive. I always hope that we're going to do the business. You look at the previews I do. I always preview us to win. I always say that it'll be a tough game, no matter who we face. I always think that we might turn it or be able to fix things, but maybe this man on the screen, maybe he can't turn it around. Maybe he's not the guy turning it around. And we might have to face up to that reality. And you hear people going crazy, oh, slot out, slot this, that, and the other. I'm not slot out, I'm not slot in. I'm a Liverpool fan. I want the best for Liverpool Football Club. It doesn't matter the name that's on the manager's door. It doesn't matter the name that's on the back of the jersey. The only thing that matters is the crest on the front chest. So with that, I'll leave you and love you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And then to top it off, of course, Newcastle get a win against Man City. So can't even get a real good structured title race going. Thank God Chelsea won. You know, imagine as a Liverpool fan saying, thank God Chelsea won. We need a title race, don't we? Need a title race. But let's see what happens. Listen, enjoy the rest of your weekend, folks. I thought I'd jump on and give a quick reaction there and stuff, you know. So it's just, you know, can't just keep on jumping on here at times when we do really, really well. We have to jump on here and we have to address the issues and we have to bring a bit of honesty, you know, honesty about the players, honesty about the tactics and the setup and the choices and the players that we pick, And lots of honesty about that man there in the graphic. You don't get a pass on the basis of last season. It doesn't work that way. That's not the way we operate. Until next time, folks, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, and drop a like on the video. And I will catch you Monday, probably for the Monday mashup. Keep an eye out on the channel. Make sure when you hit that bell notification button, it's all notifications. And your show's going up. They'll go up tomorrow, the Monday show, the Pro Wrestling Tuesday show. Keith's show will release on Monday at lunchtime and the rest of it. And we'll talk to you again real soon. Cheers.